Ladies and gentlemen, the most powerful tool given to you as a human being is not your education, not your connections, and not even your money. The most powerful tool in your possession is your mouth. Yes, the words that proceed out of your mouth are the architects of your life. When the Creator formed the heavens and the earth, he did not use hands. He used his mouth. He spoke, and what was invisible became visible. What was formless became formed. What was chaos became order. Why? Because words create. They don't just communicate, they construct. Words are more than just sounds passing through the air. They are spiritual containers. Every time you speak, you release something into the atmosphere, whether you realize it or not. The power of the spoken word is not merely a linguistic function, it is a creative force. Is why the foundation of all things seen and unseen is built on speech. These were not just poetic lines, they were divine commands that summoned reality into existence. The same creative principle is embedded in the human design. Because we are made in the image and likeness of the Creator, we also carry within us the ability to speak things into being. Your own mouth is not just for communication, it is for creation. This principle is universal. Whether you are aware of it or not, you are always speaking your world into existence. Every sentence you utter has an assignment. It is either building something or tearing something down. This is why casual words are never truly casual. There are no neutral words. Words carry intent, and intent produces influence. The Proverbs writer said, "Life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit." That is not poetic exaggeration. It is a kingdom law. You eat the fruit of your speech. What you say becomes what you experience. You are either speaking death to your potential, your purpose, your health, your relationships, or you are speaking life into them. When you speak, you are not only influencing the external, you are instructing your internal. Your words train your mind, your emotions, and your spirit. The body listens to the voice that leads it. If you speak weakness, you will feel weak. If you speak fear, you will operate in timidity. If you speak defeat, you will begin to shrink in your decisions. The tongue is small, but its power is immeasurable. Ships are guided by small rudders. Lives are guided by spoken words. The size of your tongue does not reflect the size of its influence. The first place your words go is not to others, it is to you. You are the first hearer of your own voice. And hearing is a gateway to belief. Faith comes by hearing. Repetition creates belief, and belief creates behavior. So what you say consistently, you begin to believe subconsciously, and what you believe becomes your automatic response to life. That's why you must be intentional about what you say, especially when no one else is listening. It is in the privacy of your speech that the blueprint of your destiny is being drawn. People underestimate the impact of self-talk. They assume that only spoken declarations in public matter. But the truth is, what you whisper to yourself at night, or you mutter under your breath when things go wrong, those words are powerful. They are shaping your internal climate. Words are like seeds, and just like in agriculture, what you plant will eventually grow. If you sow discouragement through negative words, do not be surprised when you reap anxiety, doubt, and emotional fatigue. But if you sow words of life, declarations aligned with truth, purpose, and identity, you will begin to see new growth in your mindset, emotions, and circumstances. The power of speech is also visible in how we shape the lives of others. A single sentence can ignite vision or extinguish hope. Parents shape children with their words. Leaders build or destroy teams with their tone. Spouses nurture or poison trust through daily communication. The words we speak to others carry the weight of our character and the direction of our influence. This means that learning to master your mouth is not optional, it is essential. A wise person guards their speech the way a soldier guards a weapon. Because when used correctly, it protects, empowers, and advances. But when used carelessly, it wounds, confuses, and delays. You cannot afford to speak aimlessly. Your words are a tool of stewardship. You are responsible for them. Every declaration is a seed. Every sentence is a building block. And every statement is a prophecy of where your life is headed. Speak with precision. Speak with purpose. Speak with understanding. Because words don't just describe your life, they define it. Identity is not something that you stumble upon. It is not something that appears by chance or develops purely by environment. Identity is discovered through revelation and activated through declaration. You do not become who you are by merely existing. You become who you are by agreeing with truth and confessing that truth aloud. Identity is not simply a matter of biology, personality, or upbringing. It is a spiritual reality authored by your Creator, and it must be affirmed with the language of agreement. Until you declare what has been declared about you, your identity remains dormant. Social media, past mistakes, or public opinion, those are unreliable and unstable sources. If you let people name you, they will also label you based on their own limitations. This is why the most important question you will ever ask in life is not, what do others think of me? But rather, what did God say about me? The original manufacturer is always the most reliable source of identity. Every product is given its purpose and function by the one who designed it. And just like a product has a name, a use, and a description, so does your life. But the manual is spiritual. It's encoded with words of life, and those words must be spoken aloud in order to become real to you. Your identity becomes active when your mouth agrees with heaven. The first place your identity lives is not in your feelings, not in your habits, and not in your memory. It lives in your confession. You may not feel confident, but if you declare who you are in truth, confidence begins to grow. You may not feel strong, but when you speak strength into your life, you awaken the reality of who you already are. Identity is not achieved, it is received. And it must be received by faith, then reinforced by speech. There is power in naming. Whatever you name, you define. In the beginning, the Creator brought animals before Adam and allowed him to name each one. Why? Because naming something gives it identity. The power to name is the power to define, and the power to define is the power to govern. That's why you must be careful what names you accept over your life. When life calls you broken, you must say, I am whole. When people call you a failure, you must say, I am more than a conqueror. When your history calls you unworthy, you must say, I am chosen, called, and justified. If you don't speak your true name, false names will begin to take root. Declaration is not just positive speaking, it is a spiritual strategy for alignment. You are aligning your soul with truth. You are bringing your emotions, your thoughts, and your behavior into submission to the identity that already exists in the mind of God. Without confession, truth remains locked in theory. But when you speak it, it becomes activated in experience. This is why identity is not passive, it is proactive. You must rise daily and declare who you are, not based on how you feel, not based on what happened yesterday, but based on what was written about you before you were formed. Identity is also connected to assignment. You cannot fulfill your purpose until you accept your identity. And you cannot accept your identity until you begin to declare it. Moses didn't become a deliverer when he left Egypt. He became one when he accepted who he was called to be. Gideon didn't become a mighty warrior when he won the battle. He became one when he stopped arguing with the angel and started agreeing with his calling. You don't step into destiny by performance. You step into it by agreement. And that agreement must come from your mouth. When you declare your identity, you begin to shape your reality. Your environment begins to reflect your internal truth. Confidence is born. Fear begins to fade. Doubt is replaced with conviction. Because when you name yourself by what God has called you, you come into divine alignment. And alignment produces movement. Many people are stuck in cycles of insecurity and frustration because they have not yet dared to open their mouths and say what heaven has said about them. It grows through intentional confession. It is not enough to know who you are on paper. You must speak it until it becomes a part of your internal culture. Your life will never fully manifest the greatness within you until your mouth gives it permission to come forth. You must call yourself what you already are, not what you used to be. Because until you speak it, it remains buried. Your future is not waiting to be discovered. It is waiting to be written. And the pen that writes it is in your mouth. Every word you speak is either signing a contract with purpose or one with limitation. Your tongue is not just a tool of communication, it is an instrument of construction. You are not just speaking words, you are scripting your next chapter. The future does not begin when time arrives, it begins when you speak. I understand that your words are not casual but creative. You begin to take speech seriously. Life is shaped by sound, and your sound sets the direction of your life. A pen writes what is dictated by the mind. In the same way, your mouth writes what flows from your beliefs, convictions, and expectations. If your mind is filled with fear, your words will write a future built around avoidance and anxiety. If your heart is filled with identity and clarity, your words will construct a future filled with bold steps and divine outcomes. Your life always follows the script your tongue is writing. This is not motivational fluff. This is a spiritual law. You cannot speak one direction and walk in another. The mouth and the movement are forever connected. There are no silent builders of destiny. You must speak to build. You must declare to shape. You must confess to activate. The written word says, by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. This is not referring to judgment in a legal court, it is talking about the sentence you give yourself daily. You either justify your future or you imprison your potential with the words that flow from your mouth. You are living today in part of what you said yesterday. And tomorrow, you will walk in the harvest of today's declarations. Many people live limited lives not because of outside resistance, but because of internal scripts. They are unknowingly narrating a future of struggle by repeatedly saying things like, I'll never get out of this. That's just the way things are for me. I'm not made for that kind of life. These statements are not innocent. They are inscriptions. They are writing on the walls of their mind and reinforcing the ceiling of their life. The reason cycles repeat is because the words never change. If you want your life to shift, you must first shift your language. The future responds to clear instructions. That is why vision is not enough. You must speak the vision. Declaring your vision gives it structure. Speaking your goals gives them energy. Your voice adds weight to your dream. There is a difference between imagining a future and instructing a future. Imagination is silent, but instruction is vocal. Speak consistently, you begin to follow unconsciously. That's why it is not enough to silently hope. Your hope must take form through speech. Hope that is not spoken becomes hope that is eventually lost. Words create patterns. A pattern becomes a pathway, and a pathway becomes a lifestyle. When your speech changes, your habits follow. When your language matures, your decisions align. And when your declarations become rooted in truth, your life begins to mirror that truth. This is why the transformation of your future does not begin with action. It begins with articulation. You must learn to say what you want to see. You must become fluent in the language of your destiny. Speaking your future is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is not presumption. It is participation with divine design. The mouth is also the mechanism that reinforces memory. When you speak something out loud, it imprints deeper into your subconscious. The mind begins to prioritize what the mouth emphasizes. So when you declare truth daily, you are not only writing your future, you are reprogramming your present mindset. That is how confidence is built. That is how fear is broken. That is how doubt is dismantled. Every time you speak life, you are reinforcing the foundation of who you are becoming. And when the foundation is strong, the future becomes inevitable. There is also a spiritual realm that responds to sound. Words carry spiritual weight. When you speak life, you invite the presence of alignment, wisdom, and divine assistance. Heaven responds to declarations that agree with purpose. Just as creation responded to the voice of God, your environment responds to the authority of your voice when it is rooted in truth. When you speak healing, healing begins to move. When you speak peace, chaos begins to calm. When you speak clarity, confusion begins to lift. Your voice was not given to you merely for expression, it was given for command. You must stop waiting for the future to write itself. It won't. You must write it. You must speak it. Your mouth is the pen, and your belief is the ink. Every day you are writing the sentences, the paragraphs, the chapters of your life. So speak with intention. Write with authority. Declare with alignment. Because whatever you keep speaking, you will eventually start living. It is a law rooted in kingdom culture. It is how heaven operates. The Creator himself modeled this principle in the beginning. He did not create by using his hands first. He used his voice.
He spoke, and what was unseen became seen.
He declared light before light existed. He called order before form was established. He spoke life, and life responded. This is not simply a divine action. It is a divine principle meant to be adopted by those created in his image. What God demonstrated, he intended for humanity to imitate. Affirmation is the daily agreement of your mouth with the truth of your design. It is not wishful thinking or positive self-talk. It is spiritual alignment. It is your role as a speaking spirit to declare who you are and what is yours according to the principles and promises already written about your life. When you affirm something, you are not trying to create truth. You are reinforcing truth. Truth does not become real when you say it. It becomes active in your life when you say it. There's a difference. Truth is always true, but it must be spoken to be experienced. The culture of the kingdom is built on confession. Faith is voice activated. Belief without confession is dormant. When you believe something deeply but remain silent, you delay its manifestation. But when you speak what you believe, you authorize the process of becoming. This is why every day must begin with affirmation. It is how you calibrate your identity, set your intention, and command your environment. A silent believer is a vulnerable target. But one who affirms truth aloud becomes a moving force, anchored, clear, and in sync with divine design. Affirmation must be daily because life speaks to you daily. Culture speaks. Pain speaks. Fear speaks. If you don't speak back, you live in reaction instead of in authority. You were never designed to react to life. You were created to lead it. And leadership begins with language. What you say sets the standard. When you affirm who you are each morning, you set the pace for your decisions, emotions, and interactions. You are not hoping to be something, you are commanding your soul to remember what it already is. This is not performance, it is discipline. Just as the body requires food each day, the spirit requires truth each day. And that truth must be spoken aloud. The reason many people live inconsistent lives is because their words are inconsistent. They speak truth occasionally, but not faithfully. They affirm identity when they feel good, but not when pressure comes. Yet kingdom culture is not emotion-based, it is principle-based. A principle works whether you feel like it or not. And if you practice it consistently, it produces consistent results. Daily affirmation is how you become immune to the lies that try to invade your mind. When you already know who you are and speak it daily, you are not shaken when someone questions you. Your identity becomes immovable because your words have made it so. Every time you affirm something, you are training your inner world. Your thoughts begin to adjust. Your emotions begin to submit. Your mind begins to focus. Affirmation is not for others, it is for you. It is how you guard your heart with all diligence. It's how you keep your soul from being led by circumstances. If you wake up and do not affirm truth, you leave the door open for chaos. But when you wake up and declare truth, you take dominion. You place a guard over your day with your voice. And where there is spiritual authority, peace follows. Affirmation is also a form of agreement. In the kingdom, agreement multiplies power. When you agree with the wrong thing, you empower bondage. But when you agree with God's word, you empower freedom. That is why your affirmation must be rooted in scripture and revelation, not mere optimism. Sam Strong has power when you know you are quoting, "Let the weak say I am strong." Saying I'm favored carries weight when you know it is anchored in the truth that you are accepted in the beloved. True affirmation is built on the foundation of eternal truth, not temporary emotion. This practice is not optional for those who desire to live with authority and clarity. It is a cultural discipline of the kingdom. Royalty does not hope for outcomes, they declare outcomes. Citizens of the kingdom do not echo the language of fear, they proclaim the language of faith. You must become fluent in the vocabulary of heaven. Speak as one who knows their rights, their role, and their resources. This fluency is built daily, word by word, affirmation by affirmation. Over time, your speech changes your structure. And what you affirm consistently, you become naturally.